Evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? We've got take 2 with Alan. We're going to see if we can have a slightly better connection today than we did on Tuesday. We weren't so dodgy, so thanks to the people that stuck through with it. Please today, if it is going a bit funny, let us know because we're unaware. Oh, and he's in already. We're off to a better start already.
Is it actually working?
I know, it seems to be. How you doing, mate? You're right.
Yes, all good for round 2. Well, we're not talking about the other one. We're just pretending it didn't happen.
Oh, I've already ruined it. Yeah. So, right. So we're going to talk. So, yeah, we're going to avoid the elephant in the room. Is that we've already spoken about this once. They say you're only live once. It's not true, is it? Really, But we got Dr. Mike Graham for the second time, so I'm hoping he's going to drop the same feedback.
Mike, you're a good guy. Thanks so much for joining us again.
That is commitment to the cause. That is
massively.
So we're going to have a little chat. If you didn't know already, because you didn't watch on Tuesday, we're going to have a chat about Alan's upcoming course with Incidental. Go easy on the sexy rub down chat tonight. Spoilers, Mike. Spoilers. So we're going to have a little chat about that upcoming course, which has got some rubber dam in it already, and we're going to talk about its posterior composites and what. So we've got a super fan in as well for you. So
that's my mate's wife, who's not a dentist, but she is my #1 fan.
Oh, there we go. That's what we want to see. So Alan wants to come on for a third time. Because he enjoyed it so much the first time and the second time. But if you haven't seen either of those, can you just give us a little intro, bud, so everyone knows who you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Alan. I'm a dentist based down in Cornwall, just a general dentist. Just been working in private practice for about the last 3 years down here. And was in Bath before that for about 4 years, and trained in Cardiff initially. But mostly just doing general dentistry with a bit of implants and treating tooth wear, that sort of thing.
All the fun stuff. We've got someone wanting to join the chat. Sorry, we can't. So we're gonna have a little intro about your course, which is coming up. It's sold out, so don't get everyone too excited. But they can sign up to the mail list as well, right? And we're gonna try and come up with some fresh jokes and banter this time, but no promises.
Yeah, zero promises on that, I'm afraid. Only got one lines. So we set up a course, myself with Chris at Incidental. I just got to know Chris on a little study club thing we're in, and he was working in the hospital before and just said he wanted to go back to lecturing and stuff. And did I want to get involved? So a friend of his, Ollie Bailey, who is just like the all-knowing of Composite, the guy's brain is incredible. 3 of us got together to put this course on, and it just went crazy. The uptake was more than we could have expected, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so that's got 1 course in Bath, 2 courses in Newcastle. Are
they based down by you? The guys?
What? The guys? No, they're both Newcastle.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think we launched the first one in Newcastle purely for, they've done a lot of courses up there. They know the setup and whatever, and we didn't really know how popular it would be, if it would go well, So, and then the Newcastle one, just the first course sold out pretty quick, and a lot of people when I put it on here were saying, when you're doing something down south, and so we got set up in Bath with the guys, the contemporary endo guys on the circus. They got a really lovely practice there, and I used to work on a circus as well, so it's a nice spot to go back to. And then that one sold out in 2 weeks, I think, which again was mad.
And when am I doing your London one again?
Yes. Well, actually, Chris, I think, heard just about enough to say, I can say that the London one is open.
There we
Um,
go. We weren't
so
sure on Tuesday, so it's better already because we know
there you
that
go.
the London one's available.
Yeah, so there's a London course set up which had just like a waiting list on it already. So it's links on my page in the bio, or you can just go onto the Incidental website, and all the dates and stuff are on there.
And
But
I'm
it'll
not
be
working that weekend, so I can actually come. So I'm actually going
oh
to sign up.
nice.
Yeah. So no pressure.
Be quick, mate. Be quick. You don't want it to sell out.
All right, hold on, guys. I'm just going to. So, in terms of the actual course itself, it's mostly 3 days. I know you're saying, sorry, I
Yeah.
mean, I've heard, not from a live last Tuesday, that it's mostly going to be 3 days, right? And not, London might be a 2-day one or something like
No,
that.
no,
But
it's
they're all
all three.
three.
Yeah, all 3 days. It's just that we're doing two back to back in Newcastle.
Fine.
But yeah, so it's going to be 2 days on posterior composite and rubber dam and advanced rubber dam. I think the guys have done taught courses before, and we were just chatting about. There's a lot of similarities in certain composite courses, and we just want to teach it a bit differently. So there's so many practicals we've got planned that it's just we're going to have to be quite quick, I think, to get through them all.
Mm.
But we just start off simple and just break our way into it. So start with an occlusal and then class 2, and then working all the way through to like deep margins, back to backs. The classic question you get on every single rubber dam webinar is, how do you isolate and restore distal over 7? So just things like that. And then we've got a day on anteriors as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's as you say, there's tons and tons of courses like it as well. But it's sort of like I was talking to Celine at work about this yesterday, and just because obviously she's got a similar course as well that's sort of, and you can actually do all these courses and just take all those little bits and say someone might teach it a different way or say something in a way that resonates with you. So I think but then you can, when you're sort of setting one up, you think, oh my God, this is already done, or how do we do this? We say you want to do it just a little bit differently, or just with a different outlook. Oh, we've got Toothy Pal on again. That is commitment. It's still not about dentures.
And yeah, we still haven't set one up in Vancouver since Tuesday, I'm afraid, but wait and see.
So yeah, it's going international, guys, in case you missed it on Tuesday. We've got dates in where we, for tax purposes, we're going to.
Yeah, let's just go to Whistler,
Yeah, let's do that. I'll come to that one as well. And the Ibiza one.
Oh yeah, don't forget Ibiza, yeah.
So do you want to jump in? I understand you want to, not that you showed us before. So I've seen, actually, no one else saw them by the sounds of it. I saw them. They look great. So let's just jump in. We've got some.
I don't know. That was mad. We were having a conversation. You watch it back, and you were laughing away. I don't know. Yeah,
we
Vegas.
were living the dream. We were completely unaware. So guys, if you aren't hearing us properly, or the screen of the image is getting messed up, please let us know before we happily plow on for another hour and have to redo it on Sunday.
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to turn the camera around, and hopefully it's not completely pixelated.
Let's hope the 4G holds up. How's that looking, guys?
I've gone full on Wi-Fi, mate. Forget the 4G.
5E.
All right, Ken. It is genuinely fibre. I mean, I don't know. I've got no excuses. Okay, so how's that looking?
Yeah. Let us know if the picture's okay, guys, because otherwise we'll have to get to the BT Tower or something.
I mean, that was my only other option. Yeah. If anyone just want to drop a little comment to say if you can actually read that. So this is literally the day one course, but probably a bit much to cover. So cool. So just to sort of start at the beginning, really, this is the reason that we want to avoid, why we're teaching this course is because this is the first case I did with rubber dam with composite that I got around to photographing.
Hmm.
And so, like I was saying before, this is not the first case I actually managed to do with a rubber dam. This is the first case I managed to get around to photographing. And so you can imagine how rubbish the attempts before this were. And, I look at it and you think, do you know what? It's not, the composite's not too bad, It's, the final result looks okay. But, you look at the rubber dam and you've got the wrong size clamp. I somehow got a gap here and a gap here, but it's loose here. I don't think I could do that if I tried, It's just so poorly fitting. Haven't flossed this contact. There's saliva coming through here, and I probably haven't even got all the caries out. So
it's the green dam. It's the green dam.
Yeah,
There we
green.
go. Mike Gregory saying we are crystal clear tonight. Look at
Thank you, Mike.
that.
Do you think he's just saying that so that we don't have to bump him back next week? He's completely sabotaging us.
No, Mike messaged me like properly worried, being like, "Oh my God, it was our stream like that because I thought it was fine." And
Don't worry, Mike. It's just Cornwall. It's just Cornwall.
Bristol's not far though, so.
Well, yeah, just up the line. And so, when I did this case, I was like, God, that looks good. I've done rubber dam, quadrant, I've done 2 cavities, really happy with that. And I look back at it now, I'm like, there's so many basic errors there. And just even to get to this stage was a learning curve. I had loads of failures before this. And so really, I just want to teach people in a way that they can get to doing really good quality isolation and composites without having to go through all the kind of the steps I did. And so let's just scroll down. Mike trying to stick up for Bristol there.
He's representing.
I'm with you, Mike. I've been in Bath. Okay, cool. So this, I just think, is quite like a nice way to get your head around how to start doing this type of thing. And this is by no means, you have to do level 1 before you can do level 2, or anything with regards to what level you might be at already. It's just a way of getting into your head which scenarios are more difficult, because that was something I found early on. Before I'd made the mistakes, I didn't even know what was difficult. I just would get halfway into the appointment and realize I'm running ridiculously late. I'm sweating a lot, and we're getting no closer to a filling.
And this is before we've even got a gown on.
Oh, mate, yeah. Don't get me started on gowns and FP3s.
Well, that's why Mike doesn't do AGPs anymore.
Great shout, Mike. Yeah, maybe I should just go that way. So I just sort of broke it down into this sort of level system. So this is level 1, okay? Most people that come out of uni could do a level 1, okay? It's the same as what you do for an endo, but it's doing it completely properly. So we've got a nice fitting clamp on the tooth. This happens to be a plastic one, and there's pros and cons to those. I know people are super against them in some cases. And
I use them for the majority of what I do.
Yeah,
absolutely fine.
Yeah, they do work really nicely.
Patients prefer them.
Patients do like them. And to be fair, I had a case literally this afternoon where I was reaching for my Beastie 12A. I was like, that's such a certain clamp. And I looked at the 6, and I was filling the 5, and I looked at the 6, and I was like, the crown on that does not look that sturdy. And this was not the type of patient that you wanted to pop a crown off on. It's never happened to me, but why risk it? So I just went with a soft clamp, and rubber dam is meant to be relaxing. I know that might be difficult to believe for some people, because I know it is a bit of a stress. But that's my main reason for doing it. Just to have a chilled life. the Cornish way, you know, just relaxed about it all. Make your life easy. So this is level 1. Okay, we've got a clamp nicely held on the tooth. We've got the contacts flossed. Okay, that's a really easy step, but also easy to forget or miss. And just to bother to do that takes literally 1 minute, but you get such a better seal. And then
normal floss, or are you using the little bows?
Just normal floss? Normal floss actually. I have chatted with some people before who messaged me about that on Instagram, saying they like to use the bows. My only problem with using a bow is, one, you're not going to get it distal around the clamp. And 2 is, I don't like to floss the contact and then come out the same way it's gone in, because so often you
pull it back out again.
Yeah, you put it through and you're like, oh, I made a great gain, and then you put it out, oh, I've lost it, and you're just going to tear if you keep going in and out. So just normal floss for me. And then just releasing the clamp, little rock, which I had to do. That's really quite straightforward, but again, that can be a bit tricky if you don't know how to just get the dam sealed nicely. And then it's a standard occlusal, you know. So you've got it isolated. You can just relax now, get it all cleaned out, and take your time to put a bit of anatomy in if you fancy it. And this is the kind of thing we're going to. This is level 1 teaching on the course. This sort of composite. It doesn't have to be complicated. And then same again, just a few other level 1 scenarios. So little open and dress. This is a cracked tooth. It's a standard endo access or standard endo isolation. And then while you got the dam on, you know, when you take it out of the bite, just do a little occlusal adjustment there. And the good thing about that level 1 is, how easy is it to find the small occlusal? It doesn't even have to be a composite. You know, I said to you the other night, treat yourself to an amalgam. You know, but even when you're drilling out an amalgam, it's nice for the patient to know that they're not having that all going into their mouth, and they really appreciate it. So level 2. So we've got this scenario here, and you could look at this and go, oh, do you know what? I should put the clamp on the 6. That's an easy level 1 right there. I know how to do that. Or you could go to the level 2, which is a quadrant isolation. And the reason this is level 2 is the procedure hasn't changed. Okay, so you know, if you can do level 1, you're like, okay, level 1 took me 45 minutes. It doesn't matter however long it took you, right? The only thing that's changed here is the quadrant isolation. So everything else, once you've got the rubber dam on, you know how long it's going to take and how stressful or not stressful it's going to be. And I think that's a really key factor. That's something that I've found really useful, is not trying to do or learn 10 different things at once in the same procedure. Like, you can learn these things really quite quickly, but it's not trying to do it all at the same time. You know, maybe you could do a couple of things, but you don't want to find out halfway through a massive restoration that actually you can't get the dam on more than one tooth. So yeah, got the tooth nicely isolated with my necessary floss tie.
Cheeky floss tie.
Very cheeky floss tie. I'd like to think it was, I don't know, maybe I was there just in case it did go through the lingual wall. I've got no excuses, to be honest, mate. It's pointless.
It was for this one presentation.
Yeah.
Coming up next, our floss tie tutorial.
What are the chances? And then, yeah, standard occlusal posterior composite. Just you know, taking time to put a bit of anatomy into it, and then you get rewarded with the occlusal contacts being, you know, you don't need to make any adjustment. I used to be in that camp of like, why would you put anatomy in when you just have to drill it all down at the end? And it's a depressing place to be, you know. And there were a few times, you know, the learning curve when you put the effort in and you're not rewarded for it. You get absolutely sat down by the articulation paper. And but actually, once you get to grips with it, and visualize where you've got to go with this anatomy and how you're going to make it fit with the rest of it. You haven't even touched it. Just taking the dam off, take a quick photo, take an articulation, and that's it. And the more you do it, the more repeatable that becomes, and the more times you find you get this situation, which is just satisfying, really. So these are just some unnecessary close-ups of exactly the same thing. And then if we look at it from the side, this is the other really important thing. So we've got a nice quadrant isolation. Everything's inverted around the margins. And that's super important because it's another thing that you could quite easily get lazy about, which is why I think I like this approach of you don't have to stress about anything else in the procedure, as in doing the occlusal, because so you can focus on the little things. So this is my classic setup really for a single tooth restoration, is clamping one tooth distal and isolating 2 teeth mesial. So if we're working on the 6, 2 teeth mesial. And the reason for that is a 4-tooth isolation gives you loads of space to work. So I wouldn't really bother with, sort of like a level 1 isolation anymore, because this doesn't take very long. And you have so much space. And one of the things we discuss on the course is about different types of clamps. And I know some people aren't a big fan of the winged, but I love the winged clamp for 2 reasons. one, it's super easy, and 2, look at this tongue, right? I don't know how well you can see it, but that wing gives you an extra, 5-10 millimeters just holding the tissues out of the way. It's a really useful extra bit of retraction on the soft tissues. But getting things nicely inverted, again, it only takes a minute, but the inversion means that the dam is now pointing down against the tooth and gripping it, sort of almost like internally down in the sulcus. Whereas if it's not inverted and it sticks up, you get a big swallow, saliva goes straight up there and just washes over the tooth. It's so annoying.
Just as you put the Panavia on.
Yeah, honestly, you've been there, I can tell.
I see it in my nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. And then, just a close-up of the anatomy. So again, this is just a really nice example of an unnecessary floss tie, but also of a level 2 isolation. And here we've got a posterior up to 7, so I've just isolated the 6 and still gone 2 teeth mesially. So doing the extra tooth mesially, sometimes the most mesial tooth is a bit, it can be a bit awkward, particularly if it's a canine. It's a bit awkward to get it inverted really well. So last thing you would want is this to be your last tooth, and say you haven't inverted it, or for whatever reason you've struggled, it's going to really interfere with this. And the whole point of getting a good quality level 2 is so that when you go on to level 3, you're going to nail it. I thought this was a level 2. I think you thought it was more 2.5.
I'm thinking 2.6 now that I'm saying it again.
Wait, no, it's going to go down. It's going to get easier as I explain it. This will be a 2.4 for you now, mate. You know what's coming.
We got this. So no one else does though, so they still think it's a 2.6.
So we've got our standard quadrant isolation, but the 5 just slightly palatally rotated. You could get your dam on the frame, line it up, do the little dots, and that'd be a good guide. Or you just eyeball it. You're working on the 6. It's not the end of the world if this is like 1 millimeter off. So you just look at it. You do your stent as standard and just go, okay, we need to nudge the hole for the 5 in a little bit, and get it isolated. And then you can take your time to do a half decent composite. And again, I think you can kind of see a few little blue dots there. I'll probably check the articulation, so it was all fine, rub them off and took the photo. So yeah, again, no adjustments needed there, just because we just followed the anatomy. And then, so it's not just occlusal composites. Um, this is kind of a, it looks complicated, but it's just an opening dress and a re-wall, really, which is as far as my endo skills go. That's it. I don't go
That's me
anywhere
too.
deeper.
That's me
Yeah.
too, buddy.
I mean, I'm already getting a bit anxious just looking at this right now.
The coronal third.
Oh, yeah. Just, I don't know. That sounds scary to me even.
You
But
used to go and watch the live with Krina a couple of weeks back.
I have watched it and it hasn't convinced me. I'm not ready, mate. I'm not ready.
We're having a part 2 with that as well, so maybe we'll get you on that one.
Okay, fine, yeah. But I've got Graham at the practice. He does our endos, and he's amazing. So I just don't feel the need to go any further than this. But I tell you one thing, it's so nice working really closely with an endo guy, because he really appreciates this. If you wanna get in with your endo guys and give them a re-walled open and dress like that with a little temporary in the middle, they are so over the moon that they don't get this, and they start with this.
No, 100%. No, I've started doing more and more for my endodontist, and he was very much like great, like, can we do this more?
Yeah.
And it's nice when it then comes back to me as well when I'm doing it, particularly if it's something pretty deep or something like that where it's going to need DME. It's quite nice for it to come back to me to do an onlay prep, and I go, I know that distal margin is fine because I
100%.
Yeah,
Exactly.
not that I don't trust him to do a really nice re-wall, but it's just that little bit nicer to go, I know I've seen that. I've physically seen that matrix band.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that that's absolutely golden. And then the prep takes no time at all because you know you're all sorted.
Exactly. And I don't think it's unreasonable so my approach will be, this comes in, and I'll say to the patient, we're going to investigate it because look at the state of it.
Yeah, 100%.
It's gone non-vital. There's every chance we could take this open and there's a huge crack through there and through the pulp chamber, and it's not even fixable or whatever. So, and that's not that it's unfair on the endo guy, but what's the point in them finding that out when you might as well do the legwork for them and everyone's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Exploring it. Yeah.
So level 3, okay. So now the isolation hasn't changed. Okay, we've got exactly the same quadrant setup: 1 tooth distal, 2 tooth mesial, quadrant isolation, just about a necessary floss tie. And borderline, yeah, well, yeah. The restoration is more complicated. Okay, so we've got 2 surface restoration now, and so the reason this is level 3 is because you can then go, oh, hang on, okay, I know it takes me 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, how long it takes you to get this isolation sorted. Cool, I'm gonna get that bit done, and then I can move on to the 2 surface filling, which is just that going to take that a bit longer. And then similarly, this sort of situation, you don't want to be. This is not your first rubber dam isolation and composite to try, because it will be very stressful. And you could look at this and think, do you know what? It's not that difficult. It's just a little MO on the 7. But actually, what I found is, here there's a little overhang of composite, which you probably can't really see, but there's a little overhang of composite, meaning the dam's not going down. So you could get pretty stressed out about that if you're struggling. So then I just cleaned out the composite, the dam then slotted straight down really nicely. But to get to this stage, you've got to know you're going to do this when you do this, because you've chosen a wingless clamp, which is engaging the tooth somewhat distally. You could. There's other clamps where even if they're wingless, the beak could go right into the mesial here. So it's just pre-planning, and you wouldn't know this unless you've got the other bits nailed.
Yeah. So and that's even potentially disrupting if you're doing the distal of the 6. That could still be getting in the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where those care soft ones do. Sometimes you'll be literally, I'll do the whole prep, distal of the 6, do the whole cavity prep and whatever. Look to be putting a matrix in, you go, oh, I've got to rotate the clamp around, and
Yeah,
It's
it's
not. It's not
awkward.
the end of the world. But say it got to the point where you had a particularly small 7 or something, you're then having to change your clamp, or yeah. So
Mm.
working, visualizing, as you say beforehand, that's going to be really important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sectional matrices is a big part of the course, to be honest. There's lots of different techniques, and just want to demystify it really. They're not easy bits of kit to work with. And then so yeah, this is your classic. I've got a 95% tooth filled with amalgam that's chipped. Okay, I'm really sorry, you're going to need a crown on that. I don't want a crown. Oh, okay, there's not really any other really good options. Okay, I'll have it out. Right, okay, let's just do a gigantic composite then, which I'm pretty uncomfortable about, but you've left me no choice. And
Yeah,
then,
we've all
so
been there.
it's a tricky procedure. Again, quadrant isolation, pretty standard. You don't want to be stressing about that. And yeah, unfortunately, it's still going really strong years later. And she's saying, God, he tried to fleece me for a crown. So this takes time. This is like I mean, you can't really just about call this a two surface filling because rebuilding every single cusp as well. So yeah, just really going to take your time. And then the other really nice thing about it is that this patient is dubious about the need for a crown. They don't understand really. I think sometimes patients struggle to visualize a tooth without a filling in, and so you start cleaning the tooth out. You see this very decent crack line along here, and it takes 2 seconds to just whip your camera out, take a quick photo. You've got straight line vision to the site. You don't have to dry it. You don't have to get a mirror out. Your nurse can just carry on doing what they're doing. Like it takes 2 seconds, and at the end of the procedure, you get the picture out, and you go, look, there's a huge crack under this. This is why I recommended a crown. And they go, okay, thanks very much. I'll think about it. But at least you got it documented, And then, yeah, here again, I've gone 4-tooth isolation. I've not got lucky, but like I've got nice inversion on the 3. I do find that more and more difficult, to be honest. Like I think I did 5 rubber dams today. I do it all day, every day, and I still find getting a well inverted canine tricky. So don't worry if you struggle with that. It's just difficult. But then just getting a nice little DO on the premolar, again, just with a sectional matrix, and this is bread and butter stuff, and this is the type of thing we want to show you how to find easy on the course.
Oh, good. You mentioned the course for any people. And that was the one thing.
Yeah, that's your fault. You didn't.
That's my fault. I didn't make that joke. Yeah. So for those who missed it on Tuesday, when I asked Incidental if they were okay if we did this, they said, yeah, absolutely. Just make sure Alan actually mentions that we're doing a course, because apparently he gets sidetracked and forgets that he's meant to be talking about a course.
And unfortunately, I proved them completely right. And
I have as well. What a nightmare.
Well, I just got excited, mate.
Apologise, Team Incidental.
And then the other one would be, it doesn't have to be just a 2 surface. It could be just cementing an onlay, which I say just cementing. I've done plenty of these in my VT year, composite onlay, just trying to get it in there with some cotton wool rolls and then floss. I don't know. I just remember thinking, like, this is impossible. How does anyone do an onlay? I'm just not sold on it. And once you can just get some stress-free isolation, life is just so much easier. And
it's genuinely my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite, bar a secondary impression for a complete denture.
What, steady do.
Cementing an onlay. Once you know it fits, cementing an onlay is just like nice little 30 minutes of zen, just like getting your primer. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And you can just sit there and the patient can just be like chilling.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. And I mean, not really with onlay fits, but the number of times I've taken a dam off with a restoration and it's needed like a little adjustment on the occlusal or just the odd tweak, and you know, the cheek and tongue everywhere, and you just look at it, I'm like, how on earth would I have done this filling in this situation? And I don't know, maybe there's people with stronger mirror retraction than me. I think I've become weak over the years to that sort of thing, to be honest. My nurse definitely has, but she gets very upset if we're not using rubber dam, and you know, has to get a retractor out and retract with the suction.
Unbelievable. Implants under rubber dam then, yeah?
Well, yeah, every now and again. Okay, so level 4 is just stepping it up again, just a little bit more complicated. So here we've got some spacing. It's just looking ahead and literally looking in the mouth and knowing what you're doing there, because you get your standard stent, you got to put it on, and this hole is actually here. And, you know, I just want to, I'll just stretch it over a bit and floss it in, and I'm sure it'll be fine. And then you get to this scenario, you got a gaping hole here, and you're going, oh, I wish I'd actually redone that. But it's a bit late now, because I've got 2 really good floss ties on, and yeah,
all about that floss tie.
I'm really sold on this situation. So then you got it nicely isolated, and then you've got this to do, which is going to take some serious time. So you don't want to be messing about with trying to, I don't know, put some liquid down here, or like shove some cotton wool in or whatever. So yeah, get it nicely sorted, and then you can focus on the complicated part. This is it's probably more like day 2 stuff, you know, how to structure these types of appointments and restorations. And then I put the onlay prep in for the level 4. You know, I don't think it's really that bad, but sometimes, you know, when you're prepping this, it's a bit nervy. You're going pretty close to the dam, and you don't want to be thinking, do you know what, if I nick this dam, I don't know what I'm going to do, you know. And then you could find it's a deep margin, and there is more complications with that. So usually by the time you've got to the onlay fit, you know what you've got. That's why I'd say it's easier, because you've seen it, you've seen what the site is, you've even test run the clamp. So sometimes I'll have a situation where I've tried like 3 different clamps on, and I get to the end and I just write in my notes to itself, this is the clamp that worked.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
This is a prime example, right? Come in, initial prep, finalized prep, fit. You know, this clamp's okay. I got away with it, but I was like, this is not going to be ideal for the fit. I need something a bit less cumbersome, and is going to be a bit deeper on the isolation. So I just went with this a little B1, just getting at easier isolation. And then that's the same case, it's fitted. And then again, just something a bit more complicated, just being aware it's going to take you some more time. Big fan of a pre-wedge. That's something we talk about quite a lot, how to know when to do that. And then finally, level 5, you might look at that and go, mate, that literally looks like a level 2. What are you talking about? But
that's got 2 floss ties.
Correct, Rupert. You've instantly seen things are getting serious here. Steady Mike Gray. I know this is where I got a bit sexy last time, mate. So what I've got here is just a bit of an unknown, and because we've got these 2 massive restorations that I basically said to the patient, this could end up with a crown and an onlay, or we're just going to clean it out. There could be an endo needed here. Our first step is clean it all out and see what we've got. And so I buzzed it all out, and it was pretty deep, but there wasn't an exposure. But there was no way, even with 2 floss ties, that I was going to get down to that margin. So I needed a gingivectomy. So I split the dam, did the gingivectomy, and then just put a new dam on. So if this situation took you, 10 minutes to get into place, when you hit this point, you're going to be thinking, oh man, I'm not looking forward to this. Whereas if you can do this in like 2 or 3 minutes, you're like, oh, that's cool. I just whip that off, do the gingivectomy, pop this off, put a new one on. And
what do you use for gingivectomy?
Thermocut burr. Yeah, so easy.
Are you covering any of that on the course?
You are really good with the questions. We are covering that on the course, and
I didn't even ask that one yesterday.
Chris has gone to the trouble of making these epic models. I think he must have had so many trial and errors, but it's simulating deep margin elevation. And so we're going to show what to do with a really deep margin, then how to prepare the gingiva back, and then how to isolate that deep margin. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Some more favorable than others for different scenarios, but Chris has got these models. He was really intent on getting the top quality models from Frasacco, and he was getting very excited. He showed me the other night. He's like, I've gone for it. I've got the Carey's teeth. I was like, okay, it's fine. Just get what you want. But the setup that he's been doing, the practical side of the setup is just incredible. And so it's really just trying to simulate this scenario as much as possible, because it's all very well me showing you this picture and going, oh yeah, what you do is you split the dam, do a thermocut burr in there, do a gingivectomy, put a new dam on. People going, oh, that's easy, mate. Yeah. I'm sure that's not that difficult. Well, and actually, it's pretty tough. So,
did you listen to? I think it was it one of Jazz's recently about? I think it must have been an on-low one or a DME one.
Oh, with David.
Yeah, and saying leave the papilla to help hold the matrix.
100%.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on whether there's been overgrowth into the cavity or not.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that point, then that's not going to help you.
So, yeah, I put a whole section of that on day one, because I put a picture, I think it's today actually, or yesterday, on my story, of how much compression you get on a papilla with pre-wedging. I'm a massive fan of pre-wedging, because this situation is so much easier than this. Once you get to this stage, it's a pain. So I'm not one to quickly get the thermocut burr out, but sometimes it is necessary if you can't do what we call the wedge test.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because Hamish, or it must have been last week, because he's been away for a week. He showed me a case 2 weeks ago then of a similar thing. I think it was between a 6 and a 7, where I was just like, "What, you've done something?" And he's just like, "No, just put the wedge in it, and it's just completely compressed the papilla."
Absolutely.
And then by the time he's then taken off to put his band in, the papilla's just pinged straight up, and his band's just beautifully held in place. And
exactly, yeah. And that is so much easier. That I think sometimes, like, when you learn something new, you're just really tempted to do it. And then you use a thermocut burr, and you go, these are really good. This makes my life easy, just chopping this away. But actually, if you just do an epic pre-wedge, you're going to actually avoid that a lot of the time. But that's not to say it's not got its uses.
Yeah, for sure.
This kind of thing I put in as being complicated because it just takes time, And if you're not slick with each step, it's going to be painful.
This one's got a lot of floss ties.
Yeah, which means that obviously it's a better case.
At least level 9 or 10, yeah.
Well, after the course, Rupert, this will be a level 1 for you, mate. But what you
January
can see,
22nd, I'll see you there.
what's going on here is, though, even with a floss tie, you're not going to believe this, mate. It wasn't enough.
No.
Had to get an accessory clamp in there to be able to see the margin. And doing an accessory clamp, I used to think this was like black magic. You used to see these photos. You know, how did you do that? In fact, it's not so bad seeing these photos. You just see this photo, and you'd be like, what went on first? And it's so complicated. And again, it's not too difficult if you just have the technique. In fact, this will make it all worthwhile doing this again. I did a case today. Let me just quickly check if I put it on my Dropbox.
Yeah, Mike says removable pros is a walk in the park compared to this sort of stuff. Max respect.
Oh, thanks very much, Mike.
You're not regretting the lack of AGPs, Mike, hanging up the handpiece.
Right. Let me just see if I can I'm just going to quickly load up a couple pictures without showing loads of my patients' faces.
Classic Dropbox.
Yeah. So of course I cropped these properly on my phone, but when I was doing this isolation, I was thinking I just happened to have loads of time for this case today. But once everything was in place, I was genuinely loving life. So, because
speaking of being in place and loving life, Mike says he's in his comfort zone. He ain't moving. Maybe you just need to get the dam on more often, Mike, and you'll be loving life.
I saw a picture of Mike using the dam. I saw that with those little composite tags.
Oh yeah,
he's a secret dam fiend. Okay, so this is like, gosh, I don't know, years of issues, and we've got a canine, missing lateral. This has got caries here, and this is like this. I thought was just plaque. Unfortunately, not so. And then obviously it's epic cavity. This is a failing composite with loads of caries on the back, and then this lateral is just massively rotated. Bit of a space, and then a 3, and then a space, and then a 5, and then a space here. So instantly, I'm looking at this height.
8 floss ties.
I'm excited for the challenge, right? So it took me a while. It took time, but I was thinking about, whilst I was doing it, I was thinking like, how would I teach someone to do this? And it's all about the stages. You know, what do you do first? So you're not just jumping in and trying to put this on. You know, the first thing was get the holes in the right position. So I did put the dam over the teeth and put the dots on. Tiny little thing that I was thinking that I did today was I lined it up over the patient's face, and I was like, actually, I'm working on the front here, and so I just got the dam to sit a little bit more over the nose. So you know, if you've got the dam here, for example, and you tilt your burr like this, and there's loads of water, I just lifted it over there and said, "Are you comfortable with that?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I wear a mask all the time." It's like ideal. So I just had the dam just over the nose, stopped all the water spray going up there, which is awesome. Couple clamps on the premolars, so
over the top, yeah.
Yeah, so you can probably just about see there. I haven't made a hole there, and 95% of the time that means you don't need any local, which I definitely agree. Like, you need local if you need it, but if there's a way of not having to add extra local without compromising the result, I'm all for it. And that's what I think the soft clamps are really good for. Yeah. And I know sometimes in debate people say, well, just you know put the local, give them some palatal local. I'm like, well, but if you don't have to, and if it's not compromising the result, then I think it's worth it. And so then we've got these teeth sort of somewhat isolated, but of course this is rotated. As soon as I put the dam down here, it kind of popped off again. Like,
no contact.
And I'm there like, God, this is gonna be worth it. I know it.
Got a
and
live tonight.
yes.
Well, this is good
Exactly.
for the 3 people that stuck around last time. This is a bit before unseen footage.
I think Mike Gray might have just passed out. This is just too exciting. So then this was the most difficult one to isolate, because if you look here, like that, I mean, that's beyond subgingival. I probed it.
It just wants to sit above your margin, doesn't it?
You're not going to get a bit of dam down there easily. And I tried to just tuck it in and whatever. And so I had to go to an accessory clamp, a beast of an accessory clamp, which ultimately does get in the way for these 2 teeth, but it's worth it for the isolation. And then I floss tied around the clamp, because then that means I can get this mesial and distal part inverted really nicely, because you can invert it by tucking in and keeping it dry, but with a floss tie you'll get a real firm inversion and it will hold much better as well. And you see there, like that was subgingival, and all we've done is a clamp and a floss tie, and already we've gained 2 millimeters, maybe a millimeter, 2 millimeters. Definitely this one, you can almost see you can see the plaque tide line on this tooth, where this poor little bit of tooth is like, no, I was safe. And so you just expose it with floss tie. And then this one, once I cleaned it all up, that little white bit that I thought was going to be plaque was actually just a massive like demineralization area. And so I just cleaned up this one. I did a bit of rough prep on these 2, and then I was like, actually, I can't get to them easily with this clamp, so I'm going to just finish this front tooth.
You can almost do DME on it, almost, and then it's going to be in a better position.
Yeah, exactly. But to be honest, what I did, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to completely finish this tooth, because once I take this clamp off, a bit of bond and stuff will be around the edge, around the floss tie. It's going to stay inverted. It's not just, as soon as I take the clamp off, it's not just going to fall off. So I'll get that tooth completely finished, and then I'll go on to the side ones. And is a satisfying isolation. I'm sure I've got this type of treatment. I'm like, I'm a big fan of stabilization. So I really, we treat a lot of quite decent sized cases, tooth wear, the odd full mouth rehab, implants. And I really hate to get into big treatment too early, particularly like a patient you don't know. Even the nice ones can turn. And so I just want to, as of, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, anything that comes in that is a rehab, but they've got a bit of caries or they've got a bit of perio, I just think it makes so much sense to just do stabilization first. And I say to them, I'm going to break up into 2 phases, stabilization and definitive. Stabilization phase will be fixing anything we can, taking out anything we can't, and getting your gums healthy, or maybe like whatever else is like extra needed. And then you learn so much from them, like how good are they at keeping their mouth open? Do they get on with a rubber dam? Do they turn up to their appointments on time and like pay their bills and blah blah? And I've had, I reckon, 3 patients in the last 2 years that I've finished stabilization and said I'm not doing definitive for X, Y, and Z. And it's not like you don't have to be mean about it, but you just say, oh, yes, Andy Pitty. That's exactly the line I use. That's exactly the line I use. Because once you put that implant in, that's the wedding ring, man. That is, they are coming to you. They are, especially if you've done a good implant, unfortunately, they could be seeing you for 20 years, So, absolutely, Andy, date them before you marry them. Because you find out loads of different reasons. I've had patients that they're just literally late for every single appointment by like 10, 15 minutes. And I'm just like, I just don't want that on my books. And I had someone who was like, yeah, I'm really keen to do this treatment. My mate's a dentist though, and they'll probably can you send me all the notes and stuff and the treatment plan, and then they'll let me know what they can do, and then you can do the other bits. And actually, do you mind just calling them and just telling them like what your thoughts were? And I'm like, that sounds a bit complicated. And then on top of being late and then not paying, so you're just like, okay, this is not the time to get into hefty treatment.
Juice has got to be worth the squeeze. That's our one.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I say it to people about perio teeth.
Yeah, bet, man. Well, I'm glad we got the bonus case in the end. There's an emoji for them.
Mike, I would want to hear Mike on Tuesday hear what he says to patients when he decides he wants to get rid of them.
Well, that's coming up Tuesday, and we'll repeat it again on Thursday. So Dave +1, Dave Javu.
Yeah. Impression Club Live +1.
+1. Perfect, man. Well, I think we covered everything we covered on Tuesday and even more. So I think that went off without a hitch.
And even tried to avoid repeating too many jokes.
Yeah, there's just too much. That's after the watershed. We'll delay it till 9 o'clock for you, Mike. Or no, there's no time limit now. Up to 4 hours we can do. So you can take it as long as you might like. And by 11:30 you can say whatever you want.
Oh, so we got 3 more hours, have we?
Go get some more slides.
I need to write some more.
Perfect. Well, if anyone's got any questions, please pop them in, and we can get them asked because we've got 3 more hours. But if not, just can you give us a bit more information? What dates have you got lined up? 22nd of January. I'll be there.
I'm really glad you knew that one. So we've got dates lined up in January, as Rupert just said. And then there's another course, waiting list for Bath is for early next year. And then we've had loads of requests for something in the Northwest. So I don't think that's nailed down yet, but for sure, we wanted to take it on the road. We've got all the kit sorted. We can take it anywhere now, which is awesome. Yeah, but I mean, like we've got all the motors. Like we bought them, and so we're not tied down with any sort of like sponsors and stuff like that. So
locations.
Yeah, exactly. So
apart from Incidental, they're a great sponsor.
Yeah. Well, they're just been really good about it, to be honest. It's like actually, a question you asked me the other day about deep margin bands.
Yes.
What fitting timing as well. Just had a deep margin question. So quickly, Rupert said the other day that he likes the Garrison deep margin elevation bands. And I said, how interesting, because Incidental have a deep margin elevation band that I use. And I had a picture. Chris informed me that they are, I think they're slightly thinner and they are stiffer. So that's like the big thing about the Tor stuff is particularly the sectional matrices. I think it's hardened steel. So I've used loads of other brands, and not to knock any of them, but sometimes when they're quite thin, they buckle really easily. And there's a part we would talk about in quite a bit of detail on the course about this like dimple you can get on the proximal, and you don't know about it. It's completely hidden, and with a softer band, you're much more likely to get that. And so it's the same with the deep margin elevation bands. They're really nice and stiff, which means, because when you're trying to get it down around that deep margin, you don't want something flimsy that's just going to be awkward. So yeah, I'm quite a big fan of those their deep margin bands. So what do we get? What's this question? What do you do when there is a super tight contact and cannot place a toffle or deep margin elevation? So I mean, usually I'm not sure of the scenario. I've not had a scenario where you've got to do deep margin elevation and you've not got a lot of contact. Back of the table. There's always, you've got the contact point is gone. Potentially, I don't know, maybe you mean like it's a distal margin and it's tight mesially. Either I just line up the mesial first and just get it really perfectly parallel with the contact point and just wiggle and go through. Or you can just put a little wedge in. Sometimes anteriorly, when I'm struggling to get a band through contact, I just say to the patient, just going to feel a bit of pressure, and I just put my flat plastic in at the cervical margin, tiny little twist. It literally opens up just a touch, slide it in and take it out. And they're like, they don't even know what's going on. They're like, oh, he was just pressing.
And you get the luxator out.
Yeah, and if it's really tight, just put a forceps on it, Don't do that. Do not do that. Yeah, so I think I guess that's what's answering the question. The other thing is that it's sometimes tricky. You're trying to be super conservative. Say you're like, okay, I'm going to use a sectional matrix and it's got a really nice curve on it, but I've been really conservative with my cavity prep. And you do need to, we do flare the proximal slightly, but say you haven't broken your contact. I will just run a little thin IPR strip through just to, it's not even like opening the contact, it's just to give you enough space. I did it today, and it just slides through really nicely. And you'll find that you'll get that beautiful contact because of the nice curvature on the band, and fills in really, really well.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, there we go. I don't know if we've got any other questions, but for a repeat, it was bigger and better. Metal IPR. Go.
That's the one. Yeah. Little metal IPR. Little I'll just use a yellow, just like put it through once, try it. If it doesn't go through, do it one more time. Like, if it's that tight, you're onto a winner. You're going to get an easy contact. I literally did it today. I had a lower 5. Went to when I was putting the dam on, I was like, okay, all of this patient's contacts are super tight. So a little bit of me was like, okay, I better not mess this one up because I'm putting a composite in. But without giving away the entire course, as I keep saying, we can't discuss this on the course, but when to use a ring and when not to. And actually, in that scenario, I didn't need to use a ring. Got a really decent wedge separation in there with the sectional band in, and I could barely get it out. I had to use the little C pliers, unintentional plug, but the C pliers are flipping awesome. I don't know if you've used them, but you take you go to take your wedge out, take everything off. You go to take that sectional matrix out, and it is so stuck in there. You just got those tweezers, it's like no. I'm sure there's other bits of kit you can use, but I just got those little C pliers off Incidental, and it's just like it's cheap as chips.
I like that off Incidental.
Just off the guys I'm doing a course with.
Use discount code Alan10 for 10%
yes.
off.
Yes, Tadfee, backing me up. They are so good. To be fair, like on the course, I'm going to talk about all kinds of other kit I use that, that do you know what? It's not sponsored by Incidental. It's just that they're going to provide loads of kit, but we're going to talk about other stuff that is not their stuff. It's not really like that. in fact, I showed Chris my lecture, and I was like, "Oh, I use this all the time." He's like, "Oh, that's really awesome. I might look into seeing if we can supply it." You know, it's not like it's not really corporate. It's just a bunch of geeks really that like just love love all the kit.
Well, it's a good job they didn't sponsor this live, others that had to pay me twice. It would have been a nightmare. This live is not in any way sponsored by Incidental. Perfect, mate. I'll let you get off because you've got to give your wife a phone back.
Yeah, and I've probably got to take over watching the baby monitor. And I actually, I dodged the baby monitor for this live, unlike last one.
Perfect. All right, cheers, buddy.
Cool,
awesome
man.
Stuff.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
I'll see you on Saturday for the third one.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. See you.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.